Good evening.
How are you? Good evening. How are you? I'm very well. And good evening, all you folks out there, all over the universe and a few other places as well.
I'll go into a planet joke. I'm not going to.
Go on. It might be quite funny.
It's too late now.
Oh, why would it just not have the same impact?
No, it would go down like a lead balloon.
Splash. Okay, that's enough about space for tonight. That's our space talk over. Wonderful that you can join us, folks, on Tartan Tunes here. We're really looking forward to the show tonight. We've got a great guest for you, and Callum Wynd is joining us. Callum's a fantastic piper, fantastic box player, actually. And the first time I met him, I thought, oh no, who's this guy with the pipes and the ferry? And I thought, geez, this guy can play the pipes. So that's all right. So that's going to be great fun. Hi, Liz. Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Katie. There's our star for last week, Katie. It was very great having Katie on. My mum even phoned and said, oh, it was so nice you had Katie on the show.
I believe you've been gigging this weekend, Peter.
What have I done this weekend so far? No, a wedding last night. And then the afternoon show at the Spaceport this afternoon. So,
what about yesterday?
What was I doing yesterday? Oh, I was at Pigstock yesterday. Yeah, I was playing at Pigstock. That's right. There's a chap up here, Dave, and Dave has a place called the Outpost. Dave's from Tasmania originally, and it's out in Burra Isle in Shetland, and he's got wallabies and emus and all that kind of gear. And it has a rock festival, a wee kind of music festival.
A rock festival?
Well, it is. There's rock bands and everything. It's kind of like Glastonbury, but with pigs involved.
Shona?
Yeah. Hi, Shona. Oh, good to see you. Yeah, so I was at Pigstock yesterday, and it stayed dry, and we had all the folk dancing Boston two-steps out in the grass. Andy Kane and me and them all dancing. And, Yeah, no, we had a great day. There was all sorts on. There was rock bands. There was a klezmer band on. There was everything. Gee,
Is this you getting your rehearsal time in with Andy for October?
Yeah, can't wait. I'm really looking forward to that now. It's not long, eh? We're doing for that 5 nights playing. Really looking forward to it because we're coming down. We're doing a broadcast for Take the Floor first thing on Saturday afternoon. There's an exclusive for you. And then we're playing for Aberdeen Football Club's charity at night time, which is going to be interesting considering I'm a Hearts supporter. It's going to be wonderful playing that night. And then we are doing with Todd on the Sunday afternoon at Milner Thought for a ukulele. And you are coming that day to join us.
I am joining you.
Did Vi get a hold of you?
She did, yes.
Oh, that's fine. And then at night time, we're playing in the Park Bar in Glasgow on the Sunday night. And then the Monday night, we're playing Inverness Accordion Club. And the Tuesday night, we're playing Wick Accordion Club. And then we're going home on the boat on Wednesday to Shetland. So it's going to be kind of jam-packed.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, it's a pretty good plan. Yeah, we're going to capture you on the Sunday afternoon and just take it away for the rest of the week. You don't realise that yet, but it's going to be good fun. So have we got a wee bit of music for the folks tonight?
We do.
Good.
As we mentioned beforehand, Peter's not seen this video and has no idea what's coming. Katie's wanting to come. I do love a barbershop quartet. Who doesn't?
Oh my goodness. Tartan Tunes is going different tonight.
We like to be eclectic. So let's have a fantastic barbershop quartet from the west of Scotland doing their rendition of an old Scott Skinner tune.
Sounds good to me.
Mountains of Rothshire, your tears be the dew and the rain. Ye forest and strath with the sobbing wind, unburden your grief and pain. Will never
Very good.
Of course,
Yeah,
that
that's
was
really
the
good. That's
that
great.
was Inveraray District Pipe Band at the Worrells concert past Wednesday.
Yeah, not long ago at all. Where is the Worrells? Is it still at Motherwell?
The concert, no, the concert's in the concert hall now.
It's in the
Glasgow.
concert hall now. Oh. It used to be
Yeah.
in the Civic Centre in Motherwell for many years.
A long time ago. Long time ago.
Yeah, just shows how old again I am. There we go.
A long
I hope you're enjoying all
time
that
ago.
stuff, folks. That's wonderful. Really nice to see. And they had a good day as well at the Worlds at the weekend. That weekend.
The key difference between the pipe bands in general is that some pipe bands, top level, don't take themselves too seriously
Mm-hmm.
because they're able to do things like that where they can just, I'll say, laugh at themselves. You know what I mean? But just take it to a different level and do something.
Ross was there singing.
Ross Miller. Yeah.
Miller. We had Ross on the show. I noticed, just to give Ross a wee plug, he's been doing a wee bit of touring again there with the band.
He has.
I
Yeah.
noticed he was up in Hootenannies in Inverness doing a gig as well.
When did Hootenannies put the mezzanine in?
What? What's that?
When? And upper level
Mezzanine.
mezzanine.
I
I
can't
don't
even-
remember when I played there. I don't remember it being there. But then again, yeah.
There was a place upstairs I ended up in one night, I remember.
That's Mad Hatters. That's the different venue upstairs.
All right.
But-
Okay.
Anyway.
Maybe I just got lost. Ladies and gentlemen, lovely to see so many folk watching this tonight. This is brilliant. But please remember, hit that share button for us. And we're live on YouTube, Twitter, and 3 Facebook pages. And it'd be great because Davey's going to tell us now who our guest tonight is, which is going to be great for.
We have Piper, I'll say former because they're not registered. Former grade 1 Piper, accordion player, and he's been focusing mainly on his solo playing and solo competing. He's been doing no bad recently.
Yeah, see if you're a grade 1 piper, surely if you've made it in grade 1, is it not like when Mr. President, do you not get okay after that, you know?
If you're not playing in a grade 1 band, then you're not a grade 1 playing pipe. I don't know.
Oh, well,
I don't know. We can ask him.
I see what you mean.
But to be fair, I think if this man was to win a gold medal at the Northern Meeting, he might match Andy Murray's gold post box. So
Aye, yeah, that would be good.
that's what should happen. If you get the gold medal at Northern Meeting, you should get a post box in your hometown painted gold.
I think so. Yeah, or engraved silver.
Yeah, I suppose. A solid silver post box.
We'll get
See about
Derek Marr along to design something.
on that note, let's bring in Callum. There you go.
How are we doing, boys?
Evening, Callum. How you doing?
Very well. Very pleased to be here. Very honoured to be here. So.
Sorry, us waffling away nonsense.
No, not at all. No. Thanks very much for having me on.
But we do think if we get the gold medal, we're going to club together and get you something to sit next to Andy Murray.
No, I think, to be honest, boys, there's been one or two gold medals that I've lived in Dunblane far longer before I started playing. So don't worry about that.
Very true.
I think I would be further down the queue in that department. I think so.
Brilliant to have you on, Callum.
No, thanks very much.
I think the first time I met you, Callum, was up in Shetland when you were up here
That's
at
right,
the Fiddle Festival.
That's right, watching the youngsters playing in was it the Young People's Concert or something like that on the Friday afternoon. So yeah, it was a fantastic event, and the first time I'd ever been to Shetland. So no, it was great to meet you. So.
Yeah, and I mean I'd never met yourself before, but what happened was the day before there was a video went about that because I think you ended up playing the pipes for a strip the willow in one of the inter-island ferries, didn't you?
I did indeed, yep. On the way home from Unst, so we were all so it was there was a whole squad of us that went up. So I'm trying to think off the top of my head. So the band that was playing that night, it was Craig McFadden from Oban. So so Craig was playing and his dad was up, and Ross McPherson, the bold Ross McPherson, was also up, and everybody had said, this young lad's got his pipes with him. So Alan Irvin, who was playing drums that night, had managed to acquire a snare drum from the local pipe band. So, and in fact, it was John Leask, who was also a very good dance band drummer in Shetland. So it was John's drum that he managed to acquire. So he spent most of the second half trying to tune it up to my pitch, but once he got it up, it was fine, and we were drumming away quite a thing.
I was going to say if it was John's, it wouldn't have been in tune.
Well, but Alan, to be honest, I mean, I say that, but Alan worked his magic and managed to get up to pitch. So no, it was great. So and even managed to, I was really lucky because I managed to get a tune on the final night at the final fling as well. That encouraged both of us to go up and play.
That, and normally. I mean, I played the pipes myself, still do sometimes, but not to any great degree like you guys. But usually it's when somebody got pipes out. I don't know if you've noticed this, in the accordion fiddle scene, it tends to be somebody that's, shall we say, just kind of like a band player or something like that. Do you get what I mean? A Galladay band player, and they'll play Brown Girl in the Ring or something like that in the background.
Brown Eye Girl, you mean? Brown Eye Girl, yeah.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And the thing is, but I heard this video, and I go, wait a minute, where's this guy come from? This guy can probably play the pipes. and then we met the next day, didn't we? We got a blather. Right. This is what it is. So it was very interesting to meet you. I think you were playing with the police at that time.
That's probably, I was just about, probably still there, but kind of just about heading out, well, just about to leave, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Do you know Sting?
What? Sting?
Oh, different place. Sorry.
No.
Stevie's on the.
I don't know jokes. It's fine.
Sorry, I didn't get all of them either. Don't worry.
No, neither do I.
Sorry, it's fine. Sorry.
But bro, so have you been competing this weekend?
I was playing yesterday and today. So I was up at Glenfinnan Games yesterday. So done fine there, and I was playing at Crieff Games today. So that's where I was today. So
how did you get on at Glenfinnan yesterday then?
I got a prize in the march competition. I got third in the march competition yesterday. So, it was fine. So it was quite interesting because it was the first time I'd ever been to Glenfinnan Games. Fun enough. So what they do is, I don't know if it was like this in previous years. Somebody will correct me, I'm sure. But they have the March to Spain Rio board in the middle of the park, but the Peabrich board they had down at the waterfront, right underneath the monument. So you were getting the wind coming off the loch. And the judge, who was Dr. Angus MacDonald, a very fine player in his own right, of course, but he was sitting there freezing cold with the wind coming over the top of him as we were trying to tune the pipes and all that sort of stuff. So it made for a challenging but entertaining day for everybody that was playing.
It's a bit dangerous below the monument as well. If there's any pigeons up there.
Aye, and there was a fair amount of tourists kicking about trying to take photographs of you. And there was one point I thought that Prince Charlie was going to appear up the loch, the amount of folk that were standing waiting for him, So that was
kind of strange. Yeah, it would be a bit dangerous with the pigeons up the monument, though. I imagine getting crapped on by a pigeon from that.
Well, I don't know.
May I just interject? Now, Did you know that there was a tune written for the Monument at Glenfinnan?
The reason,
The Raising of the Standards.
Standard at
Glenfinnan.
Glenfinnan.
Yeah.
Aye, you came a Callum tune.
Which is available from the Argyll and Southern Highlands.
Book 2, yep. Book 2.
From
Yep.
MusicScotland.com. More on that later. Anyway, sorry, yeah.
And when you're talking about tune names, there's an old tune called The 8 Men in Moidart or something.
That's right, yeah. It's a reel as well. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's to do with it.
And you Jacobites by name probably as well, and all these sorts of tunes.
Yeah, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
yes.
let's have a set of tunes for Callum here for all you music lovers at home. Tell us what we're going to have here, Callum. This is your online entry for a boy.
That's right.
We'll talk about the online thing after.
Sure.
A wee minute and see, but tell us what you're playing here.
So it's a hornpipe and jig. Dave, you'll have to remind me. So it's the Captain's Pledge, I think, as the hornpipe by Bill Livingston, and I can't remember the jig. If somebody can help me out, I'll remember the name of the tune, but I can't remember which one I played. I'm really sorry.
We'll find out after we've heard it.
Aye.
That sounds good. That'll be good.
Thanks.
Here we go.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Super.
Very much.
Very, very melodic play. Love it.
What was the jig, Callum?
Tough Lodge. I couldn't remember. Aye, just as well somebody played it for me. Aye, Tough Lodge. So Tough Lodge. Big Angus
And
McDonald's.
Bill Livingston's hornpipe there.
The
there's
Captain's
somebody
Pledge.
Really
Yeah.
fancy getting Bill on the show some night, David, and we're trying. I never thought we'll have to ask Michael Gray. Michael Gray was on a few weeks
Oh,
ago.
aye, of course.
We'll
I did
ask
see that.
Michael to talk
Yeah.
Bill into it. That'll be nice.
Aye. No, Mike's a great guy, actually. Fantastic guy.
Yeah, we had a nice interview.
Aye.
Yes.
So what came first to your cell then? Was it bagpipes? Was that the first instrument then?
Aye, no, the pipes were the first instrument. Aye, so I learned through the school system, Peter, as probably a lot of people of my age now have learned through the school system. So, so where I stay in Dunblane, so there was a local schools instructor who was employed obviously by Stirling Council. His name was Sandy Davidson at the time. So Sandy was ex-Scots Guards, and in fact I did some research. I'm not going to read it all, but I did some research on the guy because I wanted to check my dates apart from anything else. So the guy, so Sandy actually, he started off in the Argylls, I think. He started off in the Argylls and then transferred to the Scots Guards. So he went in 1961, I think, 1961, and then he took over in the schools in 1983 and then retired not long after I started. So I had Sandy for a year. And the good thing with Sandy was because of his military background, was very, very strict on the teaching aspect. So very strict on the technique, and was taught very much in the old school method of that you went through multiple exercises and exercise after exercise before you even saw your first tune. So I'm sure it was absolute torture for my parents because it was like there was no tunes for months. You know, it was like grace notes after double-ins and all that sort of stuff. You know, all the techniques.
I was taught the same way. Way.
So,
throws,
absolutely.
D throws.
You still can't do them.
No, I'm still not very good at these. They went on for a while though.
No. So that, as I say, that was the way I was taught. And then Sandy, of course, retired. He retired from the teaching. But I still stayed in touch with him, kind of through various different things. I stayed in touch with him right up until he unfortunately died. So the guy who took over from him was a guy, Chris Gimp, who, funnily enough, was a graduate of what was then the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, now the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. So I went to Chris once Sandy retired. And then I was very fortunate, very, very fortunate indeed, that Andrew Wright, who, of course, I'm sure many of your interviewees will have talked about, I'm sure, of course, stayed in Dunblane. So and his wife went to the same church that my mother did. So that was the connection. And his wife had said, "Oh, if your boy's looking to learn, you know, or to take his piping further, I can speak to my husband about it." So, and was called up to the house, and that was it. So from then on in, I went to Andrew Wright for 13 years, I think. So yeah. So, and I should say as well that Andrew, for those who don't know who he is obviously a piper, but was as a double gold medalist and was one of the top pipers of his generation, and went all over the world teaching. He taught in America and Canada and all these sorts of places. So was a highly respected and still is very much a highly respected player, teacher, and judge. So I was very fortunate that he decided to take me on so young, you know.
So something really good that came out of religion there then was you got a good pipe.
Well, some people say it's divine intervention, and some other people might say otherwise, but for me it was very much divine intervention. So
selling your soul.
Well, something like that. But no, as I say, and the other thing as well is that apart from the piping aspect, obviously, you know, he's a massive influence in that sense in terms of teaching you the repertoire and making sure that you understood all that. Andrew was very much into, you know, giving you the whole, as my mother used to call it, the whole craft aspect of it. You understood where the music came from and who the big pipers were in the past, and to make you appreciate that you're very much just like a part in time, you know, and that somebody else will take on it. Exactly, another wheel on the cog, but you know, you are almost insignificant compared to what's come before you. So, I mean, I remember, without going into too much detail, you know, I remember Andrew talking about guys like, I mean, the second tune, the jig that you played there, Pipe Major Angus MacDonald, the Scots Guards, another fantastic player, John McDougall, Arthur Gillis, Ian McFadden, all these guys, you know, that he would talk about these guys and would have tapes of them, and, you know, he says it's really important that you understand who these people are to make you appreciate where the music's come from. You know, he was very big on that, you know. So in that sense,
it was a lot of solo. So it was really kind of solo learning then. You weren't learning in a band situation.
No. So, well, I played, well, that was the thing. So I started when I was 9, I should have said that. So I started when I was 9, and then Andrew took me on from the age of 10 right up until 23. But when I was 12, in fact, when I was 11, I was invited to join the local schools band. So the Stirling and District Schools Pipe Band, who, of course, Sandy Davison was one of the founding members of. So Chris was at that point Pipe Major, so I was invited to come along then. So I played with them for 6 years. But most of the time it was the solo piping that I loved the most, you know.
Right, okay. That's really interesting, because sometimes a lot of folk want to be in the band situation and that, but you've always aspired to the solo stuff.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, Peter, and I would say this to anybody. I mean, I love pipe band music. I really do. It's a fundamental part of who I am, and I know we'll talk more about it in a bit. But the big thing, I suppose, and the reason why I have the attitude towards the solo piping that I do, and I love it, and the reason I concentrate so much on it, is growing up my mother was a teacher in Argyll, funnily enough, and at one time, believe it or not, she lived on Angus McCall's Croft in Bendel. She lived in a caravan on Angus McCall's Croft, right? So, and she had tapes of Angus, because Angus had played drums at the wedding and stuff like that, at my parents' wedding with the band. So, because he played with Neil Sinclair. Neil Sinclair played at the wedding, and Angus was playing drums, right? So, and she had tapes of Angus, and one of the tapes that she had was the Clan McCall, which Angus had done with Donald Shaw back in whatever, I can't remember what year it came out, but Angus's playing was on all the time and was talked about all the time, and like when the recordings would come on, it was like the guy was like a genius, and this is like, I want to do that, like that's who I want to be like, so so I blame him. I blame Angus for doing what I do now. So, but no, in all seriousness, that was probably one of the biggest reasons why I do what I do.
Because talking about the pipe bands here, I'm kind of leading up to the next track a wee bit. The Strathclyde Police pipe band, you ended up playing with the police in Grade 1. So did you play with any other bands before you took that big step then?
So competing wise, no. I was very fortunate that I got into the National Youth Pipe Band. I did the National Youth Pipe Band thing for 4 or 5 years. So I was a member of the Youth Pipe Band when I joined the police band. But no, until that point, I mean, I left the Stirling Schools band. I left them in 2013, I think, because I wanted to concentrate on my studies because I was going in to do my hires. So that was the deal, that I would come out the band and concentrate on my studies. So I did all that. And one of the guys who was in the band at the time, a guy, John Patrick, who funnily enough has Angus MacDonald's pipes actually. He was in the band. He was believe it or not, he was a prison officer in Barlinnie. Handy person to know. So, a
handy person to know from whatever the right side.
Exactly. So, I mean, there was a standing joke in the band that we had. So, one of the guys he used to teach was a lawyer. So we had a lawyer, a prison officer, and a police officer. So you thought if you need anybody like that, you're fine. But and also, I joke about it. But John was saying to me, he says, "Look, come on, if you're looking for a band, come to the police band." Now, I was aware that obviously they were going to do the concert at the time, but as I say, I was like, the music that they were playing, they were very much playing Gaelic music, which is all music I love to listen to. So, and of course, Duncan Nicholson, who was the pipe major at the time, and obviously being on your show as well, a tremendous person in his own right and a tremendous musician, was in charge, and he was. His music and his management style was the reason that I wanted to join the band. So.
I really, really enjoyed the period that the band went through at that time.
Totally, and it was a really special time. It was a really, really special.
The music
time,
he was playing, when you heard the medleys, etc., etc., it was so different for everybody else.
Totally.
It was so nice to hear.
And it was funny because I always used to say this, Peter, and I would say this to him often. Because he was kind of writing the stuff, he was writing the music, and I mean, he did all the music for the concert. He did all that in his own time, and he was just a tremendous musician and a man that, I mean, I always say this. Sometimes I think Duncan's talent's almost underappreciated because he is so good. In the sense of that, like, you don't, when you actually talk to him about it, it comes from a place deep within his soul, like a place that I would almost dream of having, but it comes from deep within him. And you think, how can you do that? And he just gets it, and just amazing,
So we are going to hear Strathclyde Police Pipe Band at that point.
Yeah.
How I knew the band all my junior years, Strathclyde.
I'm sure,
Sorry, listeners and viewers. Peter's lying. Peter knew there was the Govan Police Pipe Band.
And the City of Glasgow as well. The City of Glasgow Police as well.
1800s.
But I might mind my dad taking me to the Strathclyde, the police military. They used to have a tattoo, the police tattoo in the Kelvin Hall, and I remember the police band marching, and they just won another world, and it was great. Right.
Another one.
What we're having here?
I don't know what set it is. What set is it, Callum?
It's a set. I think it's a set of slow air strathspeys and reels. I think so. I think this is the bit I was trying to show because I think Duncan plays whistle in this. I think
he does.
If it's the right one, perfect. So it's
is this
Lightly Swims the Swans. So it starts off with Lightly Swims the Swan, which is of course a Phil Cunningham tune, fantastic tune, and we eventually played that in one of our medleys one of the years that he was in charge, and then we play a set of strathspeys and reels, and then we get the Lord McConnell at the end. I always remember that tune, the Lord McConnell at the end with the drum corps and the backing musicians and all that. So
do you want to know all the tune names?
Go on. Let's have it.
I was going to say,
we've got Lightly Swims the Swan,
and
then into Miss Victoria Ross, Miss Victoria Ross again, Lady Margaret Stewart, the Poor Shabool, and then Lord McConnell of Loch Ern and Loch End.
Hey, Davy, you just spoke a wee bit of Gaelic there.
Just the wheel,
So remember that, all you folks, when you're voting for Tartan Tunes in the Trad Award this year, we can speak wee bits of Gaelic, just.
Wee bits.
Yep.
We kind of have to, don't we? Let's listen to this cracking concert and reminisce. Here we go.
It's a cracking set. I love
There
it.
you
Nice
go.
to see Gerard Russell there for Dublin. And
Aye.
Gerard said, lovely slow air there, he says, in the pipes.
Aye.
Is that lovely slow air there?
Oh, it's a fantastic tune, aye.
And,
So, I mean, that was the thing. It was, I mean, as I said to you before, Peter, that was one of the tunes we used. And in fact, it was the year after we played that slow air in the medley and all that. It was just fantastic. And the other thing I should say as well is that I was 17 when I did that concert, right? But, you know, I came from a very small schools band. So, you know, I used to play with, say, for argument's sake, 10 to 12 pipers and 3 drummers, right? But I always remember, and I'll tell a story because I always remember the first time I went to a police band practice when I did my audition for the band. I had to go in and obviously play a few tunes and all that. And Duncan was in the audition, and his pipe sergeant, Ian McPherson, was in at the time, of course, as well, who eventually became pipe major. But my lasting memory was I got to sit in at the end of my audition. He says, look, you can stay for the practice or you can go home. And my father who gave me a lift in was meeting somebody. So I says, look, I'd like to stay just to hear it. And my lasting memory was Eric Ward, who of course was the leading drummer at the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal drummer. Like I loved playing with Eric. I really did. And just the sheer power that came from the drum corps at that point, and the sheer volume that came from it was just absolutely mind-blowing. For a 17-year-old having heard that, I thought, wow. Like that is the way to play drums, you know. Yeah. It was just absolutely amazing, you know. So
yeah, Eric it was great. I always remembered when they always talked about, you know, when it was police only in the band at one point in time. I don't know, was Eric in the band when it was police only?
I think so. He'd just taken over, I think, at that point. I think. Yep.
Yeah, but amazing, great. So many good players have went right through that band. Was
totally.
Was Neil West in the band at that time?
He was, he was the bass drummer at that point. So, and of course he was. Yeah, that's right. So, and funny enough, Gary came to play with us for a couple of years as well. So
that was right. Yeah, I mean, when Gary was in the show, he told us about getting his brother, making him learn all this stuff, and then his brother became the drum major.
Yeah, that's right. So, but I mean, Gary's a great player in his own right as well, and Neil was a great drummer. But you know, it was a very special. I always say that, Peter. It was a very, very special time with the band because it was a really tight group of guys that was the one big goal for the year, was to do this concert and learning all that stuff and just. And I'll say again,
nice,
you know,
nice to see Sharon Kelly on there as well. Sharon's musical selection. It was good.
So, but no, it was I've got a lot to thank Duncan Nicholson for, actually, because the other thing I should say, Peter, is that one of the main reasons, and you can touch on this probably later, but one of the main reasons that I approached Ian McClellan, who of course was the guy who won all the world championships when in charge of the police band, the reason I approached him for tuition was through Duncan Nicholson, because I had been going to Duncan for some help with my March Spain New playing, and Duncan would take you into the house and was great. He was a great teacher, and more often than not, after the lesson, we usually ended up watching the football together, which was quite funny. Before he would put me on the train, he would usually sit and watch the football after we finished. But yeah, that's Duncan had said he was getting busy with his work, so he said, I've not got the time to teach you, but if you phone up Ian McClellan and see if he'll take you on, then that would be my suggestion. So I have a lot to thank Duncan Nicholson for. So I'd want that probably on record, is that I have a lot to thank him for. No, seriously.
Really nice. Duncan's a really, really great guest and a really nice gentleman. He even sent me up you had some baseball caps and that for that point in time when you were in the band, and he sent them up from a wee boy and all that. He's still got his police baseball cap to this day.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's really, that was one.
There you go. Very one. Yep. So no, it was great, you know.
So talking about MSRs, maybe. Are you?
Sorry, 2 seconds. I'm just proofing a comment.
You're proofing a comment. All right. Okay.
But
so MSRs, that was obviously solo. It's going to be different in a way. Solo band playing, solo playing.
Aye, so generally, I mean, the one thing for the listeners that might not play pipes or haven't been in pipe bands or whatever, so the solo playing is kind of more, how do I put this? It's maybe slightly slower than the tempos that a pipe band would play at, but certainly the expression's more. I would use the phrase elongated because you can. I would call it stretching the bar lines because you can hold notes longer and you can stretch and all that. Whilst with a pipe band, because you've got 20 guys and you've only got so much time to work with, you have to make the things much tighter, and it's generally played a bit faster. Davey will probably correct me on this, and the other thing is with a pipe band, you also have the drummers to consider as well. in terms of what.
Well, sort of.
Well, sort of. No, well, to be honest, having had a sister that's a tenor drummer and a very good one at that, you do understand. You get to actually see it from their point of view of what they're trying to do with expression and stuff like that. So, I was probably fortunate that I kind of had both sides of the coin, if you like, growing up, in the sense of you might want to do it this way, but we have to do this our way and stuff like that as well. So it's the man management aspect of it.
We're talking about it there, but we were talking about it before we came in the air tonight, and the ensemble thing and all that. And I mean, there's nothing makes a pipe corps play better than a really good drum corps as well.
I 100% agree with that. And I mean, there's even now, you listen to the drum corps nowadays, and not saying that the drum corps before were poor in any stretch of the imagination, but certainly nowadays, like the quality of the drummers that are coming through is just phenomenal. And the sympathetic approach that a lot of the drum corps have now to pipe music is just, it just makes a joy to play with,
Another interesting thing, now you'll be able to comment on this yourself, actually, because as we have said in the write-ups and the advertising the show, you play the accordion as well. So you can see this. A lot of pipers say to me that can play the accordion, I wish we could get pipers to play the pipe marks like an accordion player plays it. But it's kind of like you're saying there, we can open up the bars, you can hold notes, you can pull notes, you can use expression. You can use all this expression. Well, you really don't have such a thing as expression on a set of bagpipes. It's one volume and that's it.
Correct. It's 100%. So it's all about with the constant volume aspect of it, and you can't interrupt the sound either. You have to be able to. People used to say about time shifting. That was. People used to say about that. I remember reading an article about John D. Burgess that Mike Gray actually wrote about. I remember Mike saying that he used to refer to John as a master of time shifting, in the sense of he could stretch bars to the absolute limit and then pull it back. And John was just a master at that. And it's the same sort of idea. But obviously John was far better at it than I am. So,
and I think the two Bobs, and
that's right. Totally. And
they're very, very good at doing that.
Stretching the bar line. Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of it has to do with as well, and I could probably say this because I was taught through the method of cantor, certainly, of the kind of the singing of the vocables and the singing of the tune. You can do a lot more obviously with that and showing the light and shade with the music through the singing obviously than you can with a practice chanter. But I think you can do the same sort of thing with the marches, plays and mules, and kind of singing and stretching and making stretching notes and kind of showing the lift and all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah.
Davey,
I was going to say that. Can you remember which MSR this is?
Is it from? I think it was from the
World
a Boyne, wasn't it? Aye, a Boyne solo.
It was the World solo. I think it was.
So I think it was. Yep. So it's Callum Wynd.
Something I forgot to say, ladies and gentlemen, earlier on when the Boyne video was on, and Callum was looking exceptionally smart, standing there in his living room with his waistcoat and his Glengarry on. He assures me he did have a kilt on, ladies. It's all right. He was wearing a kilt as well.
Yes. No, but we must actually. That's an important point because throughout the pandemic, obviously there were no in-person competitions, so the online competitions were a great asset to the piping community, certainly. So, and I think I would have gone stir crazy if I hadn't had something to at least prepare for. So, the Boyne ones were perfect. But I will tell a small story that the first time that they did it, the first time round, some of the competitions were more strict on their dress code than others.
All right, even online,
yep. So I know obviously that one I'm standing there in my kilt, right? But at any opportunity, I'll be honest to say, any opportunity that the dress code was relaxed, I took full advantage of it. And on one occasion, at one online competition, it might have been the Boyne contest actually, the first time round, but they basically made us play live over Zoom with a recorder. So you recorded your performance as you were playing, but you effectively played live to the judge. So, and it was during the day, but it was roasting hot. It was in the middle of August. It was like 22 degrees, not dissimilar temperatures to what we had in July. And of course, me trying to think practically was thinking, I'm not keen on playing my kilt in 25-degree heat, so I'll wear shorts and a t-shirt, thinking being practical. So, but little did I realise that the steward would come on with the waistcoat and jacket and the kilt on, and here's me standing just about to play with shorts and a t-shirt on, and I says, "Afternoon, Jack. A very hot day down here." That's what I said to him, So,
right, well, back to Duncan Nicholson and the football matches,
exactly. So
That's the way I play best when I'm relaxed.
well, that's it. So
Very good.
and I actually played without even shoes on. It was like Crocs or sandals, whatever. I was playing in shorts, t-shirt, and sandals. You'd have thought I was playing on the beach. You know, it was just one of these things. But,
So this is an MSR.
Yep.
What
So, I think it's Colonel MacLean of Ardgour. I think Colonel MacLean of Ardgour, John Roy Stewart, and Cecily Ross. I think is the real. I think.
But I'd just like to point out there has been an edit at the start of it so that you kind of avoid the tuning for the march.
No.
However, on the sustain, you do tune in between the march and the sustain reel, don't you?
I think so. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is not uncommon on the boards in person.
Mm-hmm. Really? I never knew that. I didn't know that. Yeah.
So some competitions
are a separate march competition and a separate sustain reel competition. Yep.
Can we just say for all the viewers at home that maybe don't know, you guys talking about the boards a lot?
Sorry. So the boards, the boards is what we refer to as an affectionate name for the solo piping competitions, because for the viewers, literally, when you play in the solo piping competitions, you play on a big board, a big wooden board, and you march up and down on the wooden board, literally, and then you play your sustain reel, obviously, standing still. But when you hear people talking about getting up on the boards, what they literally mean is going up and doing a solo piping competition. So that's But some of the boards have been known to be more steadier than others, I think, would be the polite way of putting it. So.
Now, if any competitions are looking for a joiner to fix their boards, Ali Meek's quite good. Are you doing Blairgowrie?
I'm indeed. Yep.
You'll see Ali's stewarding at Blairgowrie.
Is he?
He's having a heavy night beforehand, though, so that'll be fun.
Well, funnily enough, Stuart Sampson, I believe Stuart Sampson, who I think you had on as a guest before as well.
Yes.
He's now taken over as convener at Blairgowrie Games.
Oh, has he?
So, yeah.
Just recent. Did not know that.
Murray according to what Murray Henderson was saying, was that Stuart Sampson is due to take over from. So.
Oh, great.
Yep. So
there we go. You heard it here first.
Yep. So
in
there you
go. In good hands there.
The safest hands possible. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So
it's also on his doorstep as well, which always helps.
That's right. Yep. So, but no, Stuart's is a great guy and a great judge as well. So, no, he'll be a massive asset to the team there.
So here we go.
That's
I should
lovely,
correct the
that
names of the tunes as well. So that march is not actually obviously another clip that I was thinking of, but it's Alan Dodds for Out of Scotland. That was the march, and then Arniston Castle was just to and then Cecily Ross was the reel. Just for correction.
That was lovely, relaxed reel playing. They were really, really
it's a great tune. It's a fantastic tune, and it's one of these tunes that we actually, funnily enough, talking about the Glasgow Police earlier, we also played that tune and as an opener in the medley. Funnily enough, I seem to borrow quite a lot of tunes from the band, which is ironic, but yeah, so it's an absolutely great tune.
Yeah, lovely, really nice play. Now, touching on one thing here, the accordion.
Yeah.
When did the accordion come into the frame then?
So the one thing I should say, Peter, is that I was fortunate enough to grow up in a house where there was always like traditional and Gaelic music on in the house. My mother used to sing with the Gaelic choir for years, so and she was a country dancer as well. So I kind of grew up. I was fortunately growing up listening to Scottish dance band music, and there's always the standing joke in my house that when I was a wee boy, my mother used to Take the Floor on a Saturday night, and my father always used to say, "That boy, that'll never catch on with that boy. He'll get fed up of it." And suffice to say, it was totally and utterly proven wrong because I fell head over heels in love with the music. So, and as I say, I was fortunate that kind of, as I say, growing up listening to dance band music, and we also were fortunate growing up in Dunblane. We also had a big dance between Christmas and New Year in the local village hall, and the band that always used to play it was Jack Delaney. So Jack, of course, been one of the top bands in the country for a long, long time. So growing up listening to Jack was just, that was like the icing on the cake, if you know.
One of the first tunes I ever got as a youngster playing second box was with Jack's band.
All right.
And that was in Clickmannon.
At
the Burns Supper night. I was invited to the Burns Supper by a friend, and then found out Jack was going to be there. And I think he sent somebody home to get an accordion because I didn't have one. And then he played his old Merino, I played his one. And I've never been so chuffed in all my life because I remember watching Jack playing with people like Jim Johnson and Alec MacArthur and all these kind of people.
In general,
and then getting a tune with him for a whole night was just absolutely fantastic. And he's such a nice man.
Oh, Jack, totally, an absolute gentleman. So people like Jack were always talked about. Who else off the top of my head? So my mother at one time was kind of met a few times. Also met Mickey Ainsworth as well, who also played with the Bowery band. Knew Jimmy Brune as well. So he came from just outside Bridge of Cali or Bridge of Erne, I think.
Bridge of Erne, the fiddle player.
So she knew Jimmy Brune as well, and various other people. And she also used to teach. Funnily enough, the other thing I should say as well is because there's a time of lockdown which we can touch on later. But she also used to teach, and when she taught in Benderloch, as I say, she also taught with Helen Downey, who of course was married to Alistair Downey from Appin.
Oh my goodness!
So she kind of knew of Alistair, but she worked with Helen and stuff like that. So people like that were always kind of mentioned growing up. So going back to your original question, I kind of dabbled with it, so I started probably about the age of 13 or 14, and I was taught locally in the Face here, and I had to stop the lessons because most of the lessons were on a Saturday, and of course pipe band competitions and solo competitions were always on a Saturday, so that kind of knackered you for a wee while. And then when I was about 18 or 19, I think, I'd been talking to Jack. Funnily enough, I was on the phone to him and I was saying, he says, "What are you doing with the box these days?" And I said, "Not much, but I've not got any tuition." And he says, "Well, why didn't you come out the house and I'll teach you?" So I went to Jack for a wee while, and then Jack unfortunately had a massive heart attack. He was out in the garden, and then of course he had a massive heart attack. So and there was real panic in case he would ever be able to play again. So during that point, he said, "Look," he says, "I don't know if I'll be able to teach you because I might not physically be up to it." So he says, "You should go and see somebody." So through my visits to to the Park Bar, I got in friendly with Nicky McMeekin, so another top class player as well, of course. So that's how I got into with Nicky, and he taught me.
And he's been living up. He's been living up in Shetland.
That's right. Yep. That's right. So working as a postie. So
ever since.
But no, he's moved back.
He went to great lengths to went to great lengths to run away from me. So he went all the way.
Yeah, I think he's back now. He's back doing your way now.
He's back in Aberdeen, as far as I'm led to believe. Yeah. So, but
he's a great player as well.
Tremendous, So, but a great character as well, So,
I think we're going to have a wee set of tunes here on the box. This is this way? I still talk about Musselburgh, but it's not Musselburgh anymore. It's not been Musselburgh for 20 odd years.
So is it Grangemouth they call it? I think.
Grangemouth.
the one thing I
It's
should point out,
the National Association of Accordion
Aye,
Fiddle Clubs.
that's
It's
right.
their annual
online
competition.
competition. Yeah. So
Was that this past year? Was it this?
aye, yep.
I entered this as well for a lap
That's right.
this year.
I was going to say, yep. So
Did
so
you win?
no.
Neither did I. Neither did
No, I
I.
was a long way off doing that. So, but no, to be honest, I got nice the one thing was I got nice comments from the judges, so I thought I'll take the nice comments. I might not get placed, but I'll take the nice comments.
Absolutely, it was Jackie Dick. It was
and Stella Wilkie.
Rayburn. Yeah, I just remember sitting thinking, what Gaelic waltzes do I know? I wasn't really just rehearsed. I kind of put it together. But anyway, here, when you've heard this wonderful piping from Callum, folks, you're about to hear about a wonderful accordion playing. Here's a set of Gaelic waltzes on the box. Well done, Paul.
There you go.
Well done. Well done.
Fantastic.
That's
Fine.
magic. Aye, great stuff. Is that a Bugatti you were playing there?
Aye, it was. Aye, so I bought that during lockdown. Funnily enough, so
You know something I've got? I just acquired one about 2 or 3 months ago. It's an absolute
belter of a box. Oh, fantastic. So
yeah. Is that the Bugatti Champion or what they've got? Yeah, that's one. I've got the Champion. Aye, good. So there you go. How's about that, folks? Callum playing the accordion. Mind if you want to get a hold of Callum, You can get him through his Facebook page as well,
Aye.
because you actually do, Callum. You've got the Callum Wynd piping services
That's
page
right,
on
aye.
the go. So is that piping just for whatever weddings?
Weddings, funerals, events, birthday parties, you name it. I'll put
Yeah.
stuff up if I've written any tunes or whatever as well. Not that I write many tunes, but if there's anything, I'll put up that as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can get it through.
Do you do tune commissions or anything like that?
No. Just if I come up with something, I'll write stuff down. But I don't do commissions. Plus, I don't have any. The other thing is I don't have any sort of fancy music writing software. So no, it's if you're going to get a commission, it would be handwritten, unfortunately. So I don't think
Something
that's
like that. Something like
true.
it.
I know. So,
But
right.
you lead us nicely on to our next topic, and that's
right.
composition.
Aye, yeah.
Now, as you do a bit of composing, kind of
That's
throw
a wee bit.
throwing some notes on the page. But you've recently, how to word this? You've recently joined me in a new collection of music.
Yeah.
The Argyll and Southern Highlands Play Music Volume 2, which is available on musicscotland.com.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and that was on the basis that there was, I don't know if Peter remembers, there was 4 kind of categories to put your tunes in. Because obviously, born and bred Dundonian here, Callum's also from Dunblane, so not Argyll. But the key bit was that you to write different tunes written about the Argyll area or about kind of somebody from the Argyll area.
Correct.
And you composed a tune called, give me 2 seconds, Farewell to Fraser McGlynn.
That's correct.
Do you want to tell us a bit about Fraser?
Yeah, so kind of growing up, and I'm talking to a box player here, so I don't want to tell him anything he doesn't know. But so Fraser came originally from
please tell the audience. So that's the thing. The audience.
I've got correct. The reason I'm saying that, Peter, is correct me if there's anything I say that's wrong or whatever.
Fraser was one of the finest 3-row players I think I've ever heard in my life.
So the amazing thing about Fraser was that he came from Lochgilphead and he was completely self-taught, had no lessons whatsoever, no music tuition whatsoever. And the ironic thing with Fraser was for a long time he couldn't read any music. So what happened was that there was a medical student that would come home to Tarbert and he would basically get the guy to write out the dots when Fraser was playing the tune. So that's how Fraser learned to read the music. But so Fraser, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Peter, he was twice All Scotland accordion champion. Is that right?
Yeah, you could be right. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I'm sure.
So I back in the 60s. So I just an absolutely phenomenal player. And the other thing with Fraser was, and maybe it was from his West Coast heritage, but he had a great knack of being able to play the pipe tunes like the pipers could. And it's of the understanding of what we're talking about earlier with the phrasing and the intonation and all that sort of stuff. Fraser was just an absolute genius at that. And
likes of the Gaelic waltzes.
Class above. So and certainly I know growing up, I mean, people obviously talk about Mr. MacLeod from Mull, Bobby MacLeod, which is totally right, because the guy was an absolute genius at that, and obviously Bobby played the pipes before he played the accordion, of course. But the thing with Fraser was he was just an absolute genius, and a man who was. The other thing I should say to the viewers is I was never fortunate enough to meet Fraser, and that was one of my biggest regrets, was that I never got to meet him in person. But the one thing, and probably the other reason I wrote the tune, was that my family and Fraser's family, particularly my mother's side of the family, go back kind of in an intertwined sort of way over the last 45 years, because so one of my uncles, and my mother will correct me if I'm wrong, but one of my uncles worked with Fraser when he worked at the Crinan Canal and the Crinan Boatyard for a very short time, and then one of my other uncles worked with his son Kevin in the council.
Cara Handy just shot through my head there.
Exactly.
The Crinan Canal for me and all that.
So, and then the last one as well, my mother used to occasionally play golf with his wife, Kathy. So, and now obviously I'm pally with Kevin and stuff like that. So,
Kevin's a great golfer as well, isn't he?
He is, yep. So, and a very good photographer and a very, very good drummer as well. So, so that's the reason why the tune came about. And the other thing I should probably say is as well that the reason it was written, and as a slayer probably more than anything else, was at the time, you know, in my family we were actually going through a bereavement at the time. And the person it was my uncle, unfortunately, that passed away. So, and it was too close to home to be able to write a tune for him. But it was one of my uncles that had actually worked with Fraser. So, and Fraser had died about 6 months before my uncle unfortunately passed away. So that was why I thought I'll maybe not write a tune for my uncle, but I can certainly write a tune for Fraser. And that was through that time that's how it came about. So.
His pipe music playing was incredible.
Oh, just amazing. And the one thing I always joke about this as well, Peter, and you'll probably appreciate this, that I always say that Fraser's playing was what got me through the last 6 months of my degree, because there used to be one of the broadcasts. In fact, the first time I ever heard them play, they had an archive broadcast of him in 1993, I think, because Duncan Mackay was still playing piano at that point. I think. Yep. So and Duncan as well was, I mean, obviously Fraser was brilliant, but Duncan was the guy that kind of tied it all together as far as I was concerned.
These guys travelled so much.
Thousands of miles.
I mean, they were going for Campbelltown, basically. Right to wherever. I mean, no gig was local. There was nothing local.
The nearest hall for Fraser, I think, was like 50 miles away or something like that. That's what I always remember folks saying. So, and the guys all had jobs, they all had full-time jobs, and they went and travelled and all that sort of stuff, so it was just amazing. But so one of the first times I remember hearing Fraser was this broadcast, and I thought the other thing as well is it transformed for me how a button box could be played, because I'd heard like folk like Jimmy Shand and people like that playing it, but when you hear Fraser playing, I remember there's that recording on YouTube of the Argyll Connection tape, and he was playing stuff like the Isle of Ball and the Ballachulish Walkabout and all that sort of stuff. Guys, the tunes that pipers themselves would struggle to play. Yeah. And Fraser was just running up and down the keyboard, no problem. It was just absolutely incredible. I
remember tying in piping as well when I was younger, and we used to go up and camp the weekend or take the caravan up for Cowell games when it was still a championship. And Fraser actually used to play in the Masonic Hall for a dance on the Friday night before the game. Unfortunately, we found that out, and then we had very, very sore heads the next morning as we had to march up the street, But you can imagine he was in his other element, because the Masonic it was full of all these Scottish pipe band boys and a lot of the Irish boys, of course, are over for the weekend, and they're all there, and Fraser's there giving it loudy with the 2/4s and everything going.
You're right in saying, that was the thing I'd actually forgotten, Peter, was that it's the amount of miles that guy travelled to come in at our team was just absolutely incredible, So, but no, we
used to play accordion clubs all over the country, everywhere. I mind seeing them many times when I was younger. I was fortunate enough to see them. I remember seeing them as a trio when Duncan Mackay was there as well. And then, of course, Fraser became one of the pioneers of the MIDI system, because he actually done take the 4 recordings, as a 2-piece band. Nobody had ever done that before. It's always been 6 pieces and things. And everybody was like, oh dear, what's happening in that? And then you heard what Fraser's left hand could do. It was incredible.
It's just amazing.
So fantastic.
I was just somebody, as I say, somebody that I wish that I got a chance to meet. And in fact, I remember, because the problem was as well, after hearing this broadcast, it completely and utterly blew my mind in the sense of what this guy could do. And I remember talking to Jack about it, and I says, I've got a hold of this broadcast from Fraser McGlynn, and he just burst out laughing. I says, what's so funny? I says, I thought you might enjoy his playing, Callum. I says, what do you mean? He says, because he can play pipe tunes the way that you want people to play pipe tunes, is what he said. I says, no, it's true, but actually I said to him, I says, trying to get a hold of recordings of him is a problem. But I was very fortunate during lockdown that Ian Cathcart sent me a lot of his old broadcasts and stuff like that, and that was just that made my lockdown, because I just put it on, and it was just, I was like heaven in lockdown,
Really interesting seeing Sharon Kelly on there again, saying how she'd met Fraser and played and it's really interesting, because it shows you the big connection between the accordion.
Totally.
The pipes, So
totally. So, but it's just. But the other thing, going back to the other thing I should have said earlier, Peter, as well, is that probably the other reason that I kind of started with the sort of dance band element of it, if you like, obviously coming from Dunblane, we had the Jim McLeod band who were resident at the Hydro, but I was very friendly with Jenny Stewart, who funnily enough was the daughter of Billy Tom.
All right.
So,
Yes, sir.
aye, so and of course, after Billy died, they used to have the big golf outings. All the top guys would come and play in the golf club and stuff like that. So I remember getting taken along, only because I had my pipes with me, and I would go along and listen to that. And the guys would say, "Go up and play your pipes, Callum. Go up and play your pipes." So, and I remember talking to Jenny about it, and she says, "I like Fraser was just." She actually said herself, like Fraser was just an absolute genius, and that's what her father was saying as well, So
Yeah.
But,
So this tune has made it into the collection as well, Davey. Were you?
aye.
Davey's got the book. I knew he would have it on hand.
Just remember what page it's on. Musclers. Page 175.
You know, memorised that, Davey.
Oh.
I'm surprised.
175.
But I mean, the other thing I was going to say, Peter, as well, is that even though I was very honoured to the fact that the tune got into the book, but it's, and I said this, I mean, I remember saying this to Kevin at the time when I wrote him the tune and all that. I remember saying, like, it's not that tune in particular, it's not necessarily about the fact that I wrote the tune and it's about me. It's not about me. I says it's more about the impact that your dad had on, like your dad's music had on my life, and the fact that our families are so intertwined. It's not actually about. It's not about me. That's what I would say. And in fact, I'll say about I've not written many tunes, but I would say that it's not about me in terms of writing the tune. It's more about that person and the positive impact they've had on me. That's what it's more about. So, and Fraser's tune's probably the best example of that.
Let's have a wee listen. Lovely score.
Super. Really good.
If there's any pipe bands out there looking for a copy of that for their medley next season, there's your link to the book.
And you've really captured that West Coast Gaelic feel, I would say.
Thanks very much. Much appreciated.
That was really nice. Nice feel.
Thanks very much.
That's
if folk enjoy listening to it, and if even if one person plays your tune, then you're quite happy, So
exactly.
There's Joe Nicholson and Orkney there. Joe, I noticed you said you'd bother with Facebook earlier, and I've been having bothered with Facebook all week, so don't worry about it. It's just face glued.
Face glued.
Callum, just before we start the wrap up, any plans? Are you halfway through a competing season, or what's going on?
So we've got the Argyllshire Gathering actually on Thursday for me anyway. So I'll not be going on the Wednesday, but the Argyllshire Gathering and the Northern Meeting, which is our two big solo piping competitions, which is this coming week and then next week after that, and then couple of more contests outdoors, and then kind of wrap up the outdoor season after that. So
Looking forward to them.
it'll be good. It'll be good. So see how we go and take it from there. So I enjoy it. That's the thing. If you enjoy doing it, and much as sometimes you get battered by the elements when you do it right enough, but if you enjoy doing it, then I always say,
because I don't think a lot of people realise the solo scene is like a tour, right?
Aye, that's right. So I mean, some of the weird and wacky places that you end up playing, and there's lots of places that I probably would have never gone to if I hadn't played the pipes or hadn't competed in solo piping competitions, like Mark Inch and Fife. I didn't know half these places existed.
You see, how does it work? Correct me, because I'm not sure that with the solos, then there's is there certain ones you have to go to gather points or something like that?
That's right.
The big ones?
Well, there's the great. So there's the So I should have said that as well. So there's the governing body of the Solo Pipers, if you like, which is the Competing Pipers Association. So they run several contests across Scotland, and they gain you points basically to get into the big competitions at Oban and Inverness, which is what we all aim towards. That's what you aim to do. So because there's so many pipers that are wanting to play in these competitions now that they have to work out a system to be able to let the guys who are basically going to qualify for it to let them in. So but you have a track record element as well. So you've obviously got the CPA, as what we would call the Competing Pipers Association contests that you have to go to, and there's also the other Highland Games that you have to go to and win prizes at, basically. So so that's how the touring element comes into it, because then you go around the different Highland Games and all that sort of stuff. So
say you missed one or two for health or for any reason, can that penalise you for getting to a big one?
Well, you can send in an appeal. I know certainly people have appealed in the past if they've not been able to compete if they haven't been able to go out and compete as regularly as they'd like.
That must be terribly difficult. That must be so difficult for overseas players.
Well, that's the thing, I know they certainly have their own contests, and say, for example, Canada and America and New Zealand and places like that. So, for example, in Canada, they have Maxville or the North American Championships that they can play for the solo competitions and various other places. So, but they try and come over here to try and get a track record as well. So, it's a massive expense for these boys,
Do you know where you are in the P-Brock results table this year?
No idea.
Do you want to know?
You can do, yeah.
You're joint third.
That's good going.
Yeah,
John McDonald, Ben Mulhern, yourself, and then Greg Canning's tied with you for points.
Oh, neat. Didn't know that. Thanks, man. You learn something new every day, as they say. Learn something new every day. But I mean, as I say, it's a massive. I have massive respect for the boys that come over from Canada and New Zealand and all these sorts of places, because it's a massive expense, and they're using all their annual leave to come and do it. So it's real dedication. Over here we take it seriously, but that's a whole level, another level of dedication. So
because it's not like there's huge prize money involved.
No, you say if you were doing it for money, you'd be in the wrong discipline, I think, or the wrong sport. So, but I always say it, and I would probably say this as well, that I remember I would recommend your viewers to watch this, because there's a video on YouTube again of Angus McAuliffe, but there's a video called When the Pipers Play, and it was a film or a DVD, or in fact it had been a video at that point. It had been a VHS video they would have done, and basically they interviewed various different solo pipers at that time and followed them around, and they've showed, in fact there's videos of Angus playing in their Gaussa Garden holes with various different people and with Donald Shaw and people like that. So, but I remember one of the interviews that they did it with Arthur Gillis. Now Arthur was a tremendous player in his own right, gold medalist. I'd been in their Giles TA, I think. David would be able to correct me on that, but absolutely fantastic player. And I always remember Arthur saying in his interview, he says, I believe that competing is like an illness, it's a disease, that when pipers get it, they just can't stop. And it's true, once you start, you just can't stop, so, that's why you do it,
Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. We're through an hour and a half. I can't believe it. Thank you so much for coming on as a guest tonight, Callum. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
It's been it's a massive honour for me to come on. I said that at the start, but I realise it's a massive honour.
It's so good for you to come on and share your stories and everything with everybody and your experiences. And all we can do is wish you all the best for the remainder of the competing season. And hope it all goes well. And hopefully you'll keep us in touch with how you get on, and we'll watch So there's Big Rab Lennox saying hi as well. There, saying he's enjoyed.
That's all right. There you go. If Big Rab's saying that, then it must be all right.
We've done all right. We've done all right again. He's a good lad, this Big Rab. There was nobody as nervous as Big Rab the night we had him on, wasn't there? He was petrified.
Yeah.
What we didn't ask him. He thought, all right, what are this pair up to? It's good. It was brilliant. Listen, Callum, we're going to, after we've said to you here, we're going to play a phrase and we're going to track.
Aye, so no, I appreciate. Thanks very much. I know I felt a bit kind of bad saying to David.
No, we're going to have a wee tune for Fraser with the Jew.
There is one story. There is one story that I probably want to tell, and this is about Fraser, funnily enough, because this is the story I was alluding to earlier. So, I was probably, and this is only by going by what I was told, that obviously Fraser was a great character as well as being a great musician, obviously, of course. And I remember Alistair MacLeod telling me the story because Alistair, of course, played bass in his band when they were doing the full broadcasting band, of course. So, and I remember they were playing at the Eden Court Theatre in Inverness, and they were doing outside broadcast. So, and all the boys after they finished, they'd come off. And they were talking to Fraser and all that sort of stuff, and Fraser said to all the boys, "So thank you very much for getting me to have you guys to come and play with me. It was a great honour to play with each and every single one of you." He says, and all the boys went, "No, Fraser, thanks very much for getting us to play." And Fraser said, he says, "But there is one thing I have to tell you, boys." And everybody's like, "What's that, Fraser?" And he says, "You couldn't have done it without me," is what he said. There you go. So I always remember that. I thought it was brilliant, So
yeah, he was great guy. Yeah. Listen, Callum, thanks so much. You take care. All the best, and all success for the future. Take care, man. Thanks for that.
See you again, man. Thanks. See you again.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant stuff.
What did you send me?
Was that? Oh no, it's some video to watch later on. It's a video of us playing last night.
Do you want to just let me see it, no?
No, we can't. Honestly.
Oh no. Okay.
No. It's one of these marvellous moments at 1:45 in the morning in Medial Hall.
Joys. Speaking of 1:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, not really. We have cracking guests next week. We're back to singer-songwriters.
We are.
Sorry, just read your messages. Fair enough. We have one of Montrose's finest singer-songwriters.
Montrose? Have we had Andy on from Montrose before? I'm not sure if we have had Andy on.
Not on purpose.
Montrose.
It goes out as Cannaber Junction to a lot of gigs. It's a train kind of junction where he's round with it. It's Gary Anderson.
Gary, fantastic.
Yeah, so he's actually recording today some videos for next week. He's also doing a concert for Ukraine in Montrose this week, I think. So you can hear some of that.
Fantastic. So that's Gary next week.
Gary Anderson, yeah.
I can't wait. It's all, everything is too good. That's all for you. So what can I don't know enough a lot about Gary, so I'm really looking forward to that one actually.
Yeah, so he does a mixture of singer-songwriter stuff, but he's also done some trad stuff in the past as well. So yeah, should be good.
There we go, folks. There we go. We like to keep this show nice and varied sometimes, so you never know. Accordions, bagpipes, guitars, singers.
Oh my.
And a mixture of all that at times.
And that's just Peter's band.
No, okay. Look, it's going dark outside behind me now. That's actually the nights are fair drawn in.
Aye. No, it's pitch black here.
It's not quite yet. The northern lights were out last night up here.
Don't say that because the wife will be upset because she loves the northern lights.
They were pretty beautiful last night. They were all out.
Do not.
Well, I think it was the northern lights. It was either that lamppost at the end of the road.
Somebody changed the bulb.
Yeah. No, it was great. Anyway, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I must thank my mother and father-in-law because I'm in their house just now and they're actually not here tonight at all. They're away from they're cruising. So I'm looking after them.
So be careful what you say. So they're on a cruise, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. So I'm here. So it's cool. Thank you very much. Right, ladies and gentlemen.
Marion's saying she used to stay beside Cannaber Junction, so she'll be.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you go. So yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll advertise it through the week. I hope you can join us then.
Yep.
Once again, thanks very much to Callum Wynd. That was an absolutely brilliant interview.
Yes.
Really, really well done. A lot of people messaging me already saying how informative that was and they really enjoyed hearing all this stuff. It's good. Fantastic. Davey, take care. Take care of your family and we'll see you all next week, ladies and gentlemen. Take care.
See you later.